Hi there, Cleve.
Hi, Derek.
All right.
Yeah, that time you showed up. You said you were going to weed first, didn't you?
No, interview first. So, Cleve, how does the process for Chelsea begin?
The process begins with a sponsor getting in touch with you, hopefully. Ideally, you want a sponsor because it's a real tall order to do it with that one. It costs quite a lot. My first ever show garden I did at Hampton Court was without a sponsor, and it cost me a lot of money, and had to put in a lot of favours and beg, steal and borrow plants and all that sort of thing. So, but normally they get in touch with you after you've sort of got on the map somewhere.
And where do you actually draw your inspiration from?
All over, really. I think inspiration generally has to come from past ideas or old, things you've had in the past. Because at Chelsea, there's no real inspiration to take from the site itself. You've got the marquee on one side, and you've got the London plane trees behind you, and that's pretty much it. And so it has to really come from memory or old rehashed ideas, I think.
Do the sponsors give you a free rein?
They do sometimes, and that's usually the best way. I mean, the ideal thing is to create a really nice garden rather than trying to steer it and hone it to some sort of brand or something, so it becomes a big advertising cliche. So I always tend to steer clear of the ones that really want to specifically try and big up their brand, and try and do it in a more subtle way. The Bupa garden I did in 2008, that was slightly different because they needed to make the garden safe, so everything had to be level and flat, and I had to be a bit careful with that one. But
yeah, so you're designing for people with slightly more difficult problems,
walking, people with Alzheimer's, people with Parkinson's disease, so it had to be very health and safety conscious.
How much does a gold medal winning garden cost?
It varies actually, but I think I'd be right in saying that you wouldn't get much change out of £200,000 for the big ones in the main avenue, and some might cost a little less than that, but some do actually cost quite a lot more than that. I quite like the garden to be as real as we can make it. I'll never use like plywood painted and like go into that too much like theatre land. I always make sure we use proper materials so that if there is a chance of rebuilding, we can actually do it.
So things like paving and that sort of thing are sort of lifted up again.
Yeah, that's right.
Clean,
Reused.
Reused.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that you get the right plants?
But through nurseries that I've known and worked with over the past 20 years or so, and it's they're good relationships. They're people I know and trust, and because they have to do so much work. And there's a lot of expertise involved in getting everything right, and of course you need a load of backups as well in case things go wrong for Chelsea. And over the last 2 years we've seen what the weather can do from one extreme to the other, and so you need plan Bs and plan Cs as well. That's why it costs so much.
And are expensive show gardens relevant in this economic climate?
That's a really tricky one. Part of me thinks that it would be really nice to have a level playing field so everyone has the same budget to see what you can do, and part of me thinks that, well, will that spoil the magic of Chelsea? Just seeing some ridiculously impractical things being built, which are sheer theatre, sheer entertainment. I think that's part of it. So there might be a danger of losing something if you did that. I don't know. It's a tricky question. You said it was easy questions. Come on.
How long does it take to actually build a show garden then?
It takes 19 days, around just under 3 weeks. You have, but of course there's lots of preparation in the meantime. There's a good 9 months to a year, 2 years sometimes preparation, and so if it's 9 months, it's a bit like having a baby, but a lot more painful.
Now you've got 7 gold medal winning gardens.
How many was that?
7 gold medal winning gardens. Do you think it should become an Olympic sport? I mean, that would put you ahead of Chris Hoy, or Sir Chris Hoy. Perhaps you're after a Sir, a knighthood?
No, it was always my dream to get to the Olympics, and I'm a bit of a purist. I don't like all these Mickey Mouse events that appear at the Olympics. I think it just ought to be running and wrestling and javelin, that's it.
And do you think that Chelsea should be staged at a different time of year every so often, I mean, it would give you a different plant palette to work with.
Yeah.
Would that be a good idea?
Yeah, a lot of people have mentioned that. I personally like Chelsea being at the time it is. It's just tradition. I never hear myself saying that I'm a bit of a traditionalist, but I like the idea. It's right at the beginning of the season when everything's fresh. It's got a certain buzz about it. I think some of the other show gardens, Hampton Court, that could be switched to September. You get the late summer flowering perennials and stuff.
What inspired you to actually first pick up a spade?
That was my great aunt Ivy, who had a big garden in Chiswick, and I used to go around there at lunchtimes helping her out with the garden. And this was while I was doing another job, and I suddenly found that I was really enjoying it, being outside, and I sort of got the bug and spent more and more time in the garden, and eventually worked for her 1 day a week. And so she's completely responsible for it, pretty much.
What's your favourite cake?
My favourite cake? Ooh, I like all sorts, but I like a baked or tart. But I also like a nice Christmas cake, and my mum used to make a really good one. I mean, it's an old family recipe, which I'm not allowed to divulge.
I know, it's a pain of death.
That's right, yeah. So I might be making some of that come Christmas.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Cleve.
Okay, pleasure.
Thanks.